Boom! And I am joined by someone that's a part of the inner circle, Jordan Foote, writes for Sports Illustrated for the Chiefs. How you doing, my man? Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Max, thank you for having me, man. I'm ready to chop it up and talk some basketball and hopefully some NFL at the end.
We may start off with NFL in the beginning. I may throw a curveball at you right away.
All right, let's get it, man. I'm ready.
We talked a little bit off air, and it was just straight NBA topics. So I'm like, let me just throw them off guard completely. It's only right to do it that way. I actually haven't even had an opportunity to talk NFL on my podcast. It's been so NBA centric, so NBA heavy right now. It's been so MMA. Well, actually, it hasn't even been MMA heavy. It's really just been NBA heavy recently. I did an MMA episode not too long ago, actually last week. But now I'm like, I have someone obviously who writes for the Chiefs. You have a brilliant basketball mind, brilliant football mind. So now we can chop it up. I've been watching these games, and I'm an NFL dude. Now I'm NBA first. I love the UFC. I love MMA. I used to compete in it. So I like to speak on what I know the most about, because I never want to speak on something that I don't know and be one of those guys who just say it, but they don't really know it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about, but I certainly pay attention. Obviously, you don't have to be a wizard to understand the Chiefs are amazing. Patrick Mahomes is amazing. Has anything... Like, I was watching the Dallas game, and I'm like, man, they just let the Browns drop 49 on them. I'm a huge quarterback guy. Obviously, I think everyone is nowadays, the way the position's played and how valuable it is. I said it's the most valuable position in sports. So for you, okay, let's start off your focus. You write for the Chiefs. When did you start writing for them?
I started really with the pre-draft process. So I guess COVID became a big deal in March, and I joined in February. So I got in just before all of that kind of took the world by storm. So I did some pre-draft scouting for them. Did 30 scouting reports because no one knew what the Chiefs were going to do, because they had that last pick in the first round. Are they going to take a running back? Are they going to go defense? Because when you win the Super Bowl, there's only so many holes you have to fill. Your team's already pretty good. So I started there, and now I just do 1 or 2 articles a week for them, and it's a pretty fun gig. That's
incredible. Congratulations. Now, let me ask you something. So because COVID happened, this is the most unique, unprecedented times we've seen, right? So no, you don't have the same training camp, no preseason. I've always said they need to limit the preseason. So that Super Bowl hangover that teams initially have, did they actually have to have that? Did they have the opportunity to have a Super Bowl hangover? Because you're not going out and partying right now. You have to stay in quarantine. You have to do what you do. So typically, I feel like teams that win the Super Bowl go out and party. It's called the Super Bowl hangover for a reason. This team, did they even have the opportunity to have one because they've been quarantined? That could be an advantage for them, right?
Yeah, no, here in Kansas City, so the day after the Super Bowl, or the 2 days after, whatever, they had the parade. And the day before the parade, I went to a Post Malone concert, and everyone was fine. And then all of a sudden the spotlight flashed on this random dude walking in from the tunnel, and the entire place went crazy. I was like, who does this dude think he is? And it was Patrick Mahomes. so I was like, oh, he's a pretty big deal. That was pretty much they partied that day. And then Mahomes, someone took a photo of him working out in the weight room the next day. So I don't think this is a really rare circumstance where, like you mentioned, that hangover didn't really happen.
Right. And I'm a big Andy Reid guy. I really am. I think Andy Reid's awesome. And I think he understands. You always hear players talk about him. And I think he's an amazing guy at dealing with egos and personalities. You hear nothing but good things about him. People that have been played for him formerly or just play for him now, everyone loves Andy Reid. So you combine that with Patrick Mahomes, and I just feel like it's just destined for greatness. And it already has been. Just winning a Super Bowl. It's so damn hard to win a Super Bowl. The fact that they've already won one. I would say they're in my Super Bowl pick. I said my preseason Super Bowl pick was them, and I'm not trying to be a bandwagon guy and just say the Buccaneers. I'm not as big of a believer in the Saints. I think Drew Brees has shown his age. And then especially with his comments, I wasn't sure how the locker room was going to react. I really like Russell Wilson. I'm a Russell Wilson guy. So it was either the Seahawks or the Tampa Bay. But I certainly had the Chiefs in there. I know everyone's high on the Ravens, high on Lamar. My top 3 quarterbacks in the league was Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Lamar. Got to throw Aaron Rodgers probably 4th, in my opinion. But for you, understanding how good this team already is, like you said, understanding how good Patrick Mahomes is, understanding how good Andy Reid is, was it hard for you to kind of not put them in the Super Bowl? I feel like everyone has them in the Super Bowl. Was it hard for you to kind of find any weaknesses with this team and just say, okay, yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, of course. And like when you cover a team like that you grew up watching, you have to like not be a homer and try to
Right.
be as objective as possible. So like, but it's hard to think of something the Chiefs can't do.
That's what
Like,
I'm
I don't know. They play good defense or okay defense, at least good enough to win. Mahomes is Mahomes. Like even on games where they start out like that Chargers game, they were horrible on offense through 3 quarters and ended up still winning the game in overtime. Like I don't get it.
He has this element to him, and Rashad Phillips has compared him to Steph, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
he just has this element where he makes it look easy,
Mm-hmm.
and his effortless approach, his like he just makes it look fun. And it's like it's scary because at any moment he can throw a 49-yard touchdown and score. And what they did to Baltimore, I was like, this is scary. And so for you, how sustainable is this? Like, see this as okay, they could repeat it, but then people are going to get expensive injuries, or do you see this like, oh hey, this is the next dynasty? Like you are looking at it.
Sure. Like here's the thing. Kelsey just got so back in March when I first signed up with the site, the Chiefs had like $178 in cap room. Like it was literally nothing. And here's what they did after that. They extended Mahomes $500 million.
Yep.
They extended Travis Kelsey. They extended Chris Jones. They brought back Bashaud Breeland. They brought back Sammy Watkins. They signed an entire draft class. Like they had a huge offseason when they started off with $178. So I don't know how the GM Brett Veach is like managing the cap and if it'll come back to bite him in a few years, but Tyrann Matthews under contract for a couple more years. The line is solid. They just drafted a running back. Tyreek Hill just got a deal. Like this team could, I don't want to call them the next dynasty, but if any team does it, I think it's the Chiefs.
Right. I'm a win now guy, Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm a win now guy. I understand the value of draft picks in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win now. And like
Yeah.
I'm really I really just lean towards, I'm a big advocate of people who win now, aggressive wins. Now, don't be out there and just blindly be aggressive, but strategically being aggressive, I think, is the best approach. You look at the Golden State Warriors, they're always aggressive. Obviously, you mentioned the Chiefs, the Patriots obviously comes to mind. I think this could be the next dynasty is because of that mindset. But for you, another thing that really impressed me, Patrick Mahomes, is obviously we know he could throw the no looks, but now it seems like he's being even more patient in the pocket. Like he can beat you with a death by 1,000 cuts. Like he doesn't have to just throw that big long ball. Have you seen a development in his game? Like he's taking that next step even further. Have you seen that from last season to this season?
Oh, definitely. And you put you nailed the nail in with the hammer, man. You like literally Pat Mahomes. He's known for making these crazy plays that like no one else or maybe two or three guys can make, and he makes probably one or two a game. Against the Texans in the season opener, he literally nickel and dime dinked and dunked his way down the field, and then he comes out the next week against the Chargers, doesn't do anything all game, comes out guns blazing in the fourth quarter. Then against Baltimore, it was like a perfect balance of both. Like that game on Monday night against Baltimore might have been the best Mahomes game I've seen, not because he made a bunch of highlight plays, but because he did both.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, it's scary. And because there's been a lot of amazing athletes, Jordan, who are great, but they may not have the mindset of an all-timer. And so they never reach their full potential. I think he has the mindset of an all-timer because I think he understands what it takes. And he has a very humble approach, and he's a workaholic, hard worker. Like I said, he has a great coach, Andy Reid. So you have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Who do you have coming out of the NFC?
I want to say Seattle, but something inside of me just thinks that Pete Carroll won't #let Russ cook for the entire year, and they'll go back to the same old Seahawks. But
Right.
Tampa Bay, like you said, obviously deserves some consideration. I'm going to go with Green Bay, and I know that probably won't happen because that defense bites them in the rear end every single year.
Yeah.
But San Francisco's not what they were. They're all banged up. Teams like the Saints have really underperformed all season so far, and I don't trust Breeze. Like you said, he's definitely showing his age. So
Right.
either Seattle, Tampa or Green Bay, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Packers for now.
So are you a fan of Matt LaFleur?
Not a huge fan of Matt LaFleur, but compared to Mike McCarthy, I think he's definitely a lot better offensively, and he has a different mindset that I think Rodgers is like finally. The thing with him is, like you mentioned, mindset with Mahomes and mentality.
Yeah.
Rodgers has like almost all the physical tools that Mahomes has, but A, he didn't have the coaching and GM and exec staff, and B, he doesn't have that mindset. The teammates kind of don't like him sometimes, and he's kind of abrasive, so he just doesn't have that mentality like you mentioned with Mahomes. They're two different guys.
Yeah, and they don't have an owner. And so
Yeah.
it's so hard. They don't have an owner, but yeah, I could see that. I just wish they would give Rodgers some type of vertical threat. I want another. He's a dynamic receiver that I think would be really well for him. Okay, so you have the Packers Chiefs as your Super Bowl, and you have the Chiefs winning it all.
I do.
Oh, Jordan, you know what we may have to do? I used to last season, I did like weekly picks, and Rashad and I were starting to do weekly picks, and we just both got so busy, the college life as well. But we may have to do some weekly picks. We may have to tie something in there, just weekly, jot it down, who you got winning. We don't have to necessarily do the spreads every single time, but kind of 100% locks, upset of the week, and then just our picks. We may have to get involved with that.
No, I'm down, and people are listening to this, so they'll have to hold us to it.
Exactly. I mean, you're gonna do. They already sometimes, and then they love you at the next. You just got to embrace. You got to embrace it. So let's shift gears to the NBA. Okay. So we have the Lakers. They were up 2. They obviously just lost to the Heat. I had the Lakers winning this in 6. My preseason pick for the whole thing was Lakers Celtics in the finals. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition with Boston, but I had the Lakers winning. I was a firm believer in talent, and I'm a firm believer in chemistry. And sometimes I just don't think you have to outthink the room. If it's a league of duos right now and I have the best duo, there's just sometimes you just don't have to outthink the room. Just call it how you see it. Like you said, sometimes you cover the Chiefs. You're not being a homer. Patrick Mahomes is just the best football player on the planet. Like you just have to call it how you see it. Did anything surprise you? Or first of all, what was your prediction going into this series? And then off of last night's game, what was that, game 4? Or that was game 3. Has anything changed your opinion?
I had the Heat, or not the Heat, the Lakers in 6 also. I had the same pick as you. Heading into the season, I think I had the Lakers, and I know I wasn't a Philly guy because those people were really disappointed. It might have been Milwaukee because I kind of drank the Kool-Aid on Giannis, but that's another conversation for another day. I had Lakers in 6. That Giannis thing could be a whole pod. But anyway, Lakers in 6, and then I thought that Miami, they just don't have the star power, and I think they're like a better they're literally a team. Like Miami has a bunch of selfless guys who do specific roles well and they win, but you're playing LeBron and Anthony Davis, and like we saw last night in game 3, AD had 5 turnovers and foul trouble. LeBron had 8 turnovers. I'm sure we'll talk about like where he was mentally. He just didn't seem checked in completely in that game.
Right.
And the Heat barely squeaked it out. So I'm still going to go with Lakers in 6, but I could easily see it maybe being Lakers in 5, even if the Heat can get healthy.
Yeah, I watched that game and I see a lot of people like, oh man, like, see, that's what we're talking about. The Miami Heat. You never know. You wait until it's like, guys, okay, what's so funny to me, Jordan, and look, am I a LeBron guy? Yes. I love the way he plays. I like how he elevates others on and off the court, but I will call it how I see it. I'm not saying this because I'm a LeBron guy. I'm just calling it how I see it. Portland was supposed to be the toughest 8 seed ever. Dame's on fire. CJ McCollum's on fire. They come out, that one game, it's like, okay, there you go. Told you. Wait until Dame gets catching fire. Put it to rest. You're done. It's like, okay, look, now I've been saying it all, but Houston is going to give the Lakers problem. You got James Harden, you got D'Antoni, you got the Westbrook system, you got Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, stretch 5. They won one game. Westbrook's going crazy. See, I told you. Just relax. Put it away. It's like, okay, Jokic, Jamal, they just came back to the best overall team. They have the most talent. You got young players, got multiple people throw at Braun. Watch what happens. They won one game. See what I told you. Put it to rest. It's like, I feel like, and then all of a sudden the narrative changes. Oh, Denver wasn't really supposed to be there. The Clippers, they choked, and which they did. Portland, they were fatigued. They really weren't supposed to even be there. They played their way. Houston, we all know that D'Antoni doesn't make adjustments. James Harden doesn't show up in the playoffs. It's just so funny how it flip-flops from when it want to beat the Lakers, they got so many pieces that can, and then when it doesn't. So when I see this Heat win, I can't help but feel the same way. Yes, did they win? But to your point, like you mentioned, 8 turnovers. AD didn't even take a shot in like that first quarter. If he did, it was the very end. Foul trouble early, and they barely squeaked by. And Jimmy had the performance of a lifetime. Like, I'm sorry, Jimmy's not going to give you another 40-point triple-double. It's just not going to happen. And so it's like, as much as I want to give the Heat credit, and I really am a fan of Spo, I like everyone. I love Bam. I like the chip on their shoulder. I love Duncan Robinson's story. I'm just going to call it how I see it, Jordan. And sometimes it comes off as a Bron homer. I'm going to take Bron and AD coming back like they've done all postseason, and I think they probably beat them in 5. My initial reaction was 6. That was my initial pick. But is it weird that my pick actually may go down to 5 after a loss instead of keeping it at 6?
No, dude, and I was thinking the same thing. You mentioned how the narrative flipped. So the narrative after games 1 and 2 were, oh, Lakers are going to sweep this one, break your brooms out, whatever. I don't care if Dragic and Bam come back. Then last night happened, and today I get on Twitter and all I see is, oh, the Lakers are in trouble, blah, blah, blah. They showed the clip of Jimmy saying they're in trouble. People ran with it. Now, here's what I think is interesting. Zach Ramey, another guy that's in the inner circle, terrific basketball mind. I listened to his podcast earlier on Monday, and he said whoever wins game 4 will win the series. And technically, I don't think that is a bad take, because if Miami can even it up at 2 apiece, and Bam and Dragic come back at 75%, whatever they are, the Heat would have some serious momentum going their way. With that said, it's not going to happen. I don't think Miami can beat the Lakers 2 times in a row. And so much went wrong for the Lakers in that game, and so much went right for Miami, that I just don't know. The law of averages says stuff is going to balance out. And at the end of the day, LeBron and AD are going to be better than Jimmy Butler with a 40-point triple-double and all that stuff. So I think that really you look at guys like Morris and Kuzma, they each had 19 and shot 6 for 13. They played well. Butler was 14 of 20. Hero stepped up in the fourth quarter, really struggled. Kelly Olynyk has been big in 2 games straight. Danny Green hasn't been good. KCP hasn't really been good. Kuzma had his first really big game there. Rondo wasn't great last night after he was pretty good throughout the entire postseason playoff Rondo. So I think Lakers in 5 isn't a bad take, and I think Lakers in 6 also isn't a bad take. Would it be cool to see Miami upset them in this series? Oh, it'd be freaking awesome to see, but I just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I'd be willing to make a bet with pretty much anyone. And I love Zach to death. That's my guy. And even if the Lakers lose game 4, I'll take any bets. Yeah. The Lakers are winning that. And okay, so I want to get your opinion on this then. So we also had this conversation too. I'm like, I can't wait to pick your brain on it. So we had the LeBron AD, right? And that's another thing we talked to Zach about. LeBron 1000% needs AD. Like 1%. I mean, there's no saying he doesn't need him. But one thing that I'm seeing is not that Anthony Davis is anointed the best player on the team, but the way the offense is constructed, LeBron's the playmaker, he's the point. And that's why they work so well, because Anthony Davis needs the ball fed to him. LeBron loves to feed the ball. And so Anthony Davis, the offense does run through him exceptionally well when he leads the team in scoring. That's when they are at their best. But you can't tell me AD is the most valuable player on this team. You can't do it. I'm sorry, because we've seen this Anthony Davis I've seen this man drop 40 points, 20 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 blocks. I've seen Anthony Davis, and I saw it in New Orleans, and he won 1 playoff series. Is it really a coincidence he joins the Lakers, and all of a sudden he's put in this position? He's in the finals. We're not talking about the second round. We're not talking about the Western Conference Finals. The finals. LeBron needs him, but is it a coincidence that happened?
Well, no, and the thing is that I'm going to be honest. Like you said, call it like you see it.
Yeah.
The Lakers supporting cast really isn't that great. There are guys like Dwight Howard who have stepped up. JaVale McGee's been nice. Kuzma is an okay third option, I guess. Morris has stepped up. The supporting cast was bashed almost all season long. And now that they're playing well as a team, the credits kind of go into that supporting cast and Anthony Davis. Like you said, we saw AD do stuff like this before. Now, people have called him the best player in the world. Not only is that not true, but I think I still would give the slight edge to LeBron. Now, Zach, I'm going to bring him up again. He brought
Yeah,
up a terrific point
right.
that LeBron has been leaning on AD, and there's no denying that. Like there
Yeah,
have been times throughout that entire Denver series for like even quarters at a time. I think it was game 3 where LeBron was like great in the first half and horrible in the second. He deferred. But I think that it's harder to, unless you watch the game, you can say, oh, LeBron had so many assists and AD had so many points, whatever. But you have to keep into account not only is LeBron playing good defense in the playoffs, and we'll probably talk about his defense last night here in a second, he's passing the ball, he's rebounding the ball, and like the gap between scoring between him and AD is significant. But you have to take into account AD doesn't really have the offense flow through him. LeBron is the one setting him up. So
yeah. And one thing that I've noticed with LeBron is I feel like jumping as high as he used to. No, his head is still at the rim. Is he as
mm-hmm,
quick as he once was? No, but he still has a quick first step. But
mm-hmm,
mentally, I feel like he's never been better. It seems like he just understands it just way more than anybody. And that's just comes through experience. I mean, he's gone to more finals than 27 different franchises. Like, I just mentally, he's just 10 steps ahead of everything. And that's not something that will show up on a stat sheet. It won't, but
mm-hmm.
that's how he understands the game. And to your point also, LeBron's not going to the finals without AD. So he needs him.
No.
Does lean on him 1,000%. I think AD is the best teammate he's ever had. Top 5
Mm-hmm.
player in the world. I'm taking AD over Giannis as well. That could be a debate for another day. But you mentioned the defense. Has that shocked you, the Lakers defense? Because I remember at times when I was watching, just throughout the regular season, I mean, talk about Rondo's defense as well. Rondo's been
Mm-hmm.
incredible. The perimeter defense has kind of been not disrespected, but it's not been regarded as some elite defense. And the Lakers team, like, okay, they got size, but defensively they're not that great. I've been impressed with their defense. They got length, they have size. Rondo has been playing great defense. Braun plays it in spurts, maybe not all the time. He guards the best player when he needs to. To Zach's point again, I don't think he fought through the screens extremely well last night to
Mm-hmm.
guard. But I mean, he picked up Jamal. He picked up Dame. He picked up the best players in these series. He picked up Harden. I mean, obviously he abused Westbrook this playoff series. But I mean, have you been surprised with the Lakers defense? And then obviously Anthony Davis, Defensive Player of the Year candidate as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned it's been like a team effort for those guys. And they're guys who were aging, like Dwight Howard, Rondo. Even
Yeah,
now, Kyle Kuzma is like extremely defensively challenged, but you will see even he tries sometimes. He just can't really do it well.
he
Um,
doesn't first. Like sometimes I'm like, man, Kuzma is lanky. He plays some good defense, but then he just falls for every ball fake, every single one.
yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a hot and cold. Zach calls him a rhythm player, and I think that's a good way to call it. Like if he's locked in and shots are falling, the rest of his game kind of evens out. But if he's having an
Right.
off night, he's completely checked out and just struggles. But to answer your original question, um, LeBron really wasn't switching well and fighting through screens. He seemed like upset at times, and I don't know if he was upset with himself or his teammates or both. But last night was like a huge opportunity for him to separate himself from the finals MVP discussion and say, oh, well, people think AD, he obviously doesn't care, but for the media and Twitter and stuff like that, they were appointing AD finals MVP after 2 games, and LeBron could have jumped out. And he had a solid game last night, but really he didn't do much to separate himself, and mentally he just seemed kind of off at times.
Yeah, I think honestly, and again, I'm a Braun guy. I think it's neck and neck. And last game, he had a bad game. I think he
Sure.
had a bad. I think Anthony Davis had a bad game. And again, let's take things into context. Their bad game is somebody's career night, but for them,
Mm-hmm.
it's a bad game because 8 turnovers is just unacceptable, especially in the finals and who you are. Anthony Davis, we saw you in game 2 just make it look like you're unstoppable. And then to show what you did, we can say they had a bad game, but in context, retrospective, it's obviously not a terrible game. Okay, so we both have the Lakers winning. I think LeBron bounces back. I think he has a monster game next game. That's tomorrow night. So you have the Lakers winning game 4, or you're kind of leaning towards Miami sneaking it out?
No, I have the Lakers winning it. I could
Okay.
see Miami sneaking it out if Dragic and Butler come back. But even then, or not Butler, Bam, even then, I think Bam will be fine. But Dragic, that injury is like extremely painful, and he's an older guy. I just don't know how effective he will be. I think it was Joe Johnson who played through. They had a graphic that showed like the last guy to play through that injury in the playoffs. He shot like 29% the rest of the series. Like I
Yeah.
just don't think Dragic will be very effective, especially when you have guys like Hero who can step up and handle the ball. Jimmy's been facilitating a ton and doing a great job there, so it'd be nice to see Miami steal another one, but I think this series might be over even after the Heat won last night.
Yeah. I got two more things for you here, Jordan. Okay, so you went to a Post Malone concert. So are you a big fan of rap or hip hop?
Yes, and I saw your kind of comparisons on Twitter, so if that's where we're about to go, then I'm down, dude.
Okay, all right. So I'd never incorporated Post Malone. I have to incorporate 21. I mean, I have LeBron as Lil Wayne, Drake as Steph Curry, Young Thug, James Harden, Kevin Durant, J. Cole. I got a lot. I got Lil Baby as Zion, Gunna as Ja, Trey Young as Roddy Ricch. So I never incorporated Post Malone, and I never incorporated 21. And I'm dropping one tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, but sometime this week. I just did Jay's. I'm doing Jay-Z this week. That's the hint. This past week I did AI and Kanye. I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there someone? We've done Giannis as Travis Scott, by the way. Is there someone that would stick out to you as Post Malone? Because you got me to thinking right when you said that. It's like he appeals to so many different audiences, and he has such a unique, kind of like a flow.
Yeah.
Is there one that would stick out to you for Post Malone right off your head?
Man, was there another rapper we mentioned too, or another artist? Did we mention two or just Post?
I know you said
Oh, 21. It was 21. Yeah. All right. While I think of Post, I think this isn't like a perfect comparison, but
right.
Jimmy Butler might be 21 Savage.
I was thinking that. I promise you I was thinking
like he
that.
started off like I saw a comparison of his like album sales throughout the years, and he keeps getting better, and people sometimes don't like him and he rubs them the wrong way. But if you really listen to what he's trying to get across, you can see the growth, and now you can see the growth with Jimmy and Miami. So I don't want to like steal your thunder, but I think I might have just found a good comp.
Look at that. See? Teamwork makes the dream work, my man. I like that. And 21's album was one of his best pieces of work. I don't know if you've heard it yet. I loved it.
I liked it a lot.
And this is his career year. It's like he had a career night last night. That's a good one. Lastly, I think the Warriors are going to be really good next season. I think the Lakers are going to be really good next season. I think we have the Nets and I would say the 76ers are the four teams that are talked about the most. Mm-hmm. With Doc, are they going to trade that pick and get LaMelo, KD, Kyrie? My first question to you is, are you a big believer in the Brooklyn Nets? And my second question, well, I'll follow up, is about the Lakers. So let's start off with the Brooklyn Nets. I'll give you my first take is I'm hesitant. I'm not questioning the talent. Kevin Durant is the second. You can even argue he's the first best player, but off this injury, I think we can agree he's the second best player in the world. But he's never won as the guy. He's went to the finals with OKC, but with the Warriors organization, they can handle any ego. It's kind of like England. You can throw DeMarcus Cousins in there. You can throw KD in there. And I'm not saying he has an ego, but he's very responsive to people. And sometimes I feel he lacks leadership. Kyrie Irving, same exact thing. And Kyrie Irving's also injury prone. He's been injured at Duke. He got injured in Cleveland. He got injured in Cleveland again. He got injured in Boston. And he just got injured again in Brooklyn. I'm not a firm believer in this squad. And I'm not basing it off talent. I'm basing it off of all the things I just talked about. What are your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets? Because I feel like a lot of people are already like, can you imagine the Lakers and the Nets next finals? Are you kind of on that hype train as well? Or are you not are you kind of leaning towards me a little bit?
No, I'm totally with you. I think that talent-wise, that team's pretty damn good. They have Kyrie, they have KD, they have LeVert, they have Dinwiddie, they have Joe Harris. They have guys Jared Allen, they have a ton of great players. Steve Nash is going to be a good head coach, I think. But like you said, before Durant and Kyrie chose Brooklyn, like I knew both of them were going to leave somewhere. I didn't trust a KD team to be led to the finals by KD. I didn't trust a Kyrie-led team to go to the finals. So together, it's either going to be really, really, really good or it's going to go up in flames. Like, I don't know which one it's going to be, but I don't trust that team to win a championship together. So I think they could make a deep playoff run. But you mentioned Kyrie's injury prone. In today's world, like, we're as certain as we can be that guys are going to like bounce back after Achilles tears and stuff like that. So Durant's going to be fine, but I just don't. I'm a little hesitant, like you said. I'm with you.
Okay. And then as far as the Lakers, I feel like a lot of people would say this is their best opportunity to win a championship next year. I think the Warriors are going to be really good. Obviously, Dallas is getting better. Denver is going to be really good. What are your thoughts on the Lakers? Do you think they can acquire a third piece? I mean, I think in a perfect world, they get Bradley Beal, but that's like dream come true type of situation. Do you think they're able to pick up a third type of guy? And do you think they'll end up right back here again next year?
I think they can pick up a guy. Whether they will pick up a guy is going to be difficult. But if there's one thing with the Lakers, like if there's a way they can do something, they're going to find a way to do it. So
Right.
cap wise, the fit's kind of iffy. But if they can shift some guys around, they really don't have many trade assets. So that'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But a lot of guys are on short term deals, I think, for that reason. But LeBron and AD are going to give you a shot no matter what. And assuming LeBron doesn't like completely wash up over the winter or whatever, I think they're going to be right back in the Western Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals a year from now. But a lot can happen between now and then.
Right. Writer for the Chiefs Sports Illustrated. Where can people find you? Instagram, Twitter. The floor is yours. Plug away.
You can find me at JFoot on Instagram. You can find me at Jordan Foot on Facebook, if any of you still use that app. You can find me on Twitter at The Best Foot Forward, and you can find my stuff for the Chiefs at Sports Illustrated Chiefs Arrowhead Report. Max, thank you a lot for having me on, man.
Of course. And before I let you go, I never actually caught that was your username on Twitter. That was your handle. Best Foot Forward. That's clever.
Yes, sir. It took a long time for me to think of something like that, but I finally got it put together, so I'm rolling with it.
I don't have anything like that. Mine's just Max Van Auken. It's my full government name. I have nothing catchy.
MVP.
I dig it. I appreciate it, Jordan. It was a pleasure. You're welcome anytime. You have a great and safe day, okay?
All right, thanks.